In 2024, the world's largest energy projects are not just pushing boundaries, they're redefining them. Massive dams designed to rival the size of entire cities. Nuclear reactors with temperatures 10 times hotter than the sun's core. And towering structures that could power millions of homes are rising across the globe. These colossal undertakings are more than engineering marvels. They are the lifeblood of our planet's future energy supply. Yet behind the gleaming facades and staggering statistics lies a world of challenges. Rivers diverted, landscapes reshaped, and materials pushed to their limits. The stakes are as high as the ambitions driving these projects. So what are these monumental feats of engineering that are set to change the world? Imagine a colossal construction project that has been decades in the making, an endeavor so ambitious that it hasn't been seen in the US for over 30 years. Welcome to Plant Vaatel, located in Georgia, where 2 nuclear reactors are nearing completion. Yes, the country that once led the charge in nuclear power is finally back in the game. But let's just say the journey has been anything but smooth. Plant Vaatel's Units 3 and 4 are not just any nuclear reactors. These behemoths represent the first new nuclear builds in the United States in decades. You might be picturing clean energy as wind turbines spinning gracefully, or solar panels soaking up the sun. But nuclear power is here to remind us that there's still a force to be reckoned with, especially when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing. These reactors, once complete, will generate enough energy to power 500,000 homes and businesses for the next 60 to 80 years. That's no small feat. But how did we get here? First off, the scale of this project is enormous. The centerpiece of each unit is the CA-20 module, a beast of a structure, 5 stories high and weighing nearly 1,000 tons. These modules are crucial, housing everything from used fuel to heat exchangers, and they had to be prefabricated off-site before being transported and assembled at Vaatel. Just imagine the logistics of moving and installing something that massive. It required the use of one of the largest cranes in the world, because, well, how else do you lift 1,000 tons of an engineering marvel? But the CA-20 module was just the beginning. The reactors also needed 2 steam generators each, and these aren't your average pieces of equipment. Assembled in South Korea, these 25-meter-long giants had to be shipped across the ocean, transported by train, and finally craned into position at the site. The precision needed for this part of the project was staggering. One misstep, and the whole operation could have gone up in smoke. When the project was first approved back in 2009, the total cost was estimated to be around $14 billion, with completion dates set for 2016 and 2017 for Units 3 and 4, respectively. Fast forward to today, and we're looking at a price tag closer to $30 billion. That's more than double the original budget. And those completion dates? It's now 2024, and while Unit 3 is finally ready to go, Unit 4 is expected to be operational by December of this year. So, what went wrong? A lot, actually. For starters, the design wasn't quite finished when construction began, leading to numerous delays as new techniques had to be developed and then altered on the fly. Mistakes were made too. At one point, workers poured concrete incorrectly, which, in nuclear reactor terms, is a pretty big deal. That meant tearing it out and starting over, a costly and time-consuming setback. Despite all these challenges, the end is finally in sight. Unit 3 has passed its inspections and fuel loading has begun. It's a monumental step forward for a project that many thought would never see the light of day. Unit 4 isn't far behind, with a completion date set for the end of 2024. Plant Vaatel might have been a long time coming, and it certainly cost a pretty penny. But it's set to mark a significant milestone in the US energy landscape. Tucked away in the remote wilderness of Kitimat, British Columbia, lies one of the most ambitious energy projects North America has ever seen, LNG Canada. This massive undertaking is set to redefine Canada's role in the global energy market, and it's all happening in a place where nature reigns supreme. The tranquil setting of Kitimat, surrounded by towering mountains and dense forests, seems like an unlikely location for a mega industrial project. But beneath this pristine landscape lies a resource so valuable that it's turning this sleepy town into a hub of international energy. LNG Canada is no ordinary project. With a staggering cost of over 40 billion Canadian dollars, it's the largest private sector investment in the history of the country. The project's goal is straightforward, yet monumental: to transform Canada's vast reserves of natural gas into liquefied natural gas, or LNG, that can be shipped to energy-hungry markets around the world, particularly in Asia. To understand the scale of this project, imagine the challenge of building a facility capable of cooling natural gas to negative 162 degrees centigrade to turn it into a liquid. This is no small feat. The terminal in Kitimat is designed to handle this process on an industrial scale, with state-of-the-art technology that pushes the boundaries of engineering. One of the most striking features of the site is the array of process modules, enormous cage-like structures that stand 35 meters tall and weigh over 4,500 tons each. These modules are the workhorses of the facility, where the gas, arriving via the Coastal GasLink pipeline from Montney Basin, begins its transformation. The journey of these modules from China to Kitimat was a logistical marvel. Shipped across the Pacific Ocean, they were then carefully transported by road from the port to the construction site, a task requiring precision and engineering expertise on a massive scale. But the process modules are just the beginning. At the heart of the facility is the absorber column, a colossal structure designed to strip carbon dioxide from the natural gas before it's liquefied. Standing 54 meters long and weighing 800 tons, this piece of equipment is the largest at the site and was installed with the help of 3 giant cranes, each one maneuvered with the precision of a surgeon. And then there's the storage tank, a behemoth of engineering. At 52 meters high and 92 meters in diameter, this tank is where the liquefied gas will be stored before it's piped onto ships bound for overseas markets. The construction of the tank's domed roof was an engineering spectacle in its own right. Using a technique that involved gradually pressurizing the tank with air, the roof was slowly lifted into place over several hours, a process that had to be executed flawlessly to avoid any mishaps. With over 70% of the construction now complete, LNG Canada is on track to become a critical player in the global energy landscape. Its location on Canada's west coast makes it ideally positioned to serve the growing energy demands of Asia, where natural gas is in high demand. Yet, as this monumental project moves towards completion, questions linger about its timing and the future of fossil fuels in a world increasingly focused on renewable energy. As we leave the rugged landscapes of British Columbia behind, our journey across the world's most ambitious energy projects takes us to the cold, deep waters of the Baltic Sea, where one of Europe's most controversial and technically challenging ventures awaits: Nord Stream 2. Unlike the towering structures or sprawling facilities we've seen so far, this project is deceptively simple in concept: a pipeline. But beneath this simplicity lies a web of engineering marvels and geopolitical complexities that make Nord Stream 2 a key player on the global energy stage. Stretching over 1,200 kilometers from Russia to Germany, Nord Stream 2 is not just any pipeline. It's a twin line capable of transporting 55 billion cubic meters of natural gas per year, enough to power 26 million homes across Europe. The scale of this project is staggering, with around 100,000 individual pipe sections, each weighing 24 tons, carefully welded together to form the massive undersea link. This isn't just about moving gas, it's about ensuring energy security for an entire continent. Construction of Nord Stream 2 began in 2018, with the project quickly gaining momentum thanks to one of the world's largest construction ships, the Pioneering Spirit. This colossal vessel, a marvel of modern engineering in its own right, laid down up to 3 kilometers of pipeline each day. The process was as meticulous as it was relentless, with each section being welded, tested, and then lowered to the seabed with precision. But the work didn't stop there. The pipeline was built in stages, which meant that at certain points, sections had to be lifted back to the surface for connection, a procedure known as an above-water tie-in. This delicate dance between man and machine ensured that the pipeline was functional and resilient against the harsh underwater environment. The engineering feats continued on land, particularly at the German end of the pipeline. Here, 2 700-meter microtunnels were dug to connect the receiving station to the pipeline as it approached the shore. These tunnels were no small undertaking. They required the use of a tunnel boring machine, which was lowered into an entry shaft and then guided through the earth towards the sea. Once the machine had completed its journey, it was carefully extracted, and the land and sea sections of the pipeline were connected, creating a seamless transition from offshore to onshore. On the Russian side, the pipeline's journey was relatively short, connecting to an existing network that channels gas from the Arctic's Yamal fields. This strategic connection point not only shortened the overall length of the pipeline, but also positioned it as a more efficient route compared to the older, longer pipelines that traversed Ukraine. However, this efficiency has sparked controversy, as the new route bypasses Ukraine entirely, a nation that has long relied on transit fees from existing pipelines. At a cost of approximately $11 billion, Nord Stream 2 is not just a financial investment, but a symbol of Russia's influence over Europe's energy supply. The pipeline has been a lightning rod for geopolitical tensions, with fears that it could give Russia too much control over Europe's energy needs. Critics argue that this increased dependency on Russian gas could be used as a geopolitical lever, a concern that has delayed the project and led to significant pushback from countries both within and outside the European Union. As this project nears completion, the world watches closely, knowing that the decisions made here will ripple across Europe and beyond. Let's take a deep dive into the world of nuclear energy by exploring one of the most significant and ambitious projects in Europe, the Old Kulu Oto nuclear power plant in Finland. Located on Old Kulu Oto Island along the shore of the Gulf of Bothnia, the site is home to one of Finland's 2 nuclear power plants. While the plant has been operational for decades, its latest addition, Old Kulu Oto 3 or OL3, represents a monumental leap in nuclear technology and capacity, making it the most powerful nuclear reactor in Europe. Old Kulu Oto 3 is a 3rd-generation European pressurized reactor, or EPR, with a staggering capacity of 1,600 megawatts. This advanced reactor is not just a powerhouse in terms of output, but also its engineering complexity. The construction of OL3 began in 2005, marking the first new nuclear reactor to be built in Western Europe in 15 years. The goal was ambitious: to bring the reactor online by 2009, a timeline that soon proved overly optimistic. The sheer scale and complexity of OL3 presented numerous challenges. The reactor's design incorporated cutting-edge safety features, including a unique double containment structure. This design, meant to enhance safety by containing potential radioactive releases, required innovative welding techniques and materials. However, these new techniques led to multiple setbacks, including issues with the weld quality that necessitated rework and delays. Additionally, the construction faced problems with the foundation concrete, which delayed the project by several months right from the start. The reactor's pressure vessel, a critical component that houses the nuclear reaction, was another technical marvel, weighing 526 tons and requiring precision manufacturing to withstand the extreme pressures and temperatures it would encounter. However, like many other components, it was subject to delays due to the stringent quality standards required for nuclear construction. As the project progressed, the budget, initially set at €3 billion, began to spiral. By the time OL3 was completed, the total cost had ballooned to an estimated 11 billion euros, a figure that reflects the immense challenge of building one of the world's most advanced nuclear reactors. Despite the financial overruns, the completion of OL3 was a significant achievement in the nuclear industry, showcasing both the potential and the difficulties of modern nuclear power. After years of delays, OL3 finally reached criticality in December 2021, meaning it became self-sustaining for the first time. This was a crucial milestone that marked the beginning of the end for the construction phase. By April 2023, the reactor had started regular electricity production, and commercial operation officially began on May 1, 2023, some 18 years after construction first began. The impact of OL3 on Finland's energy landscape is profound. The reactor now provides approximately 14% of the country's electricity, significantly reducing Finland's dependence on imported energy and contributing to its goal of achieving carbon neutrality by 2035. With OL3, Finland has not only increased its energy security, but also positioned itself as a leader in nuclear technology within Europe. But the story of old Kulu Oto doesn't end with electricity generation. A critical aspect of the nuclear industry is the management of spent nuclear fuel, which remains radioactive for thousands of years. To address this challenge, Finland has developed the Onkalo Spent Nuclear Fuel Repository, the world's first deep geological repository for nuclear waste. Located near the old Kulu Oto plant, this facility is designed to store spent nuclear fuel deep underground, where it will be safely isolated from the environment for millennia. The repository uses a multi-barrier system, including boron steel canisters and copper capsules, to contain the waste, which is then buried in a bed of bentonite clay. This method is intended to ensure that the radioactive material remains securely contained without the need for ongoing maintenance. As Finland looks to the future, the lessons learned from OL3 and the Onkalo repository will undoubtedly shape the next generation of nuclear projects. As we transition from the steady hum of nuclear fission to the horizon of nuclear fusion, our journey now takes us to a project that seeks to harness the power of the stars right here on Earth. The International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, or ITER, is the world's largest and most ambitious nuclear fusion project, and it's being built in the south of France. This isn't just another energy project. It's an audacious attempt to replicate the very processes that power the sun right here on Earth. Imagine creating a tiny star on Earth, a source of energy so powerful that it could potentially provide nearly limitless carbon-free energy. That's the goal of ITER, a project that has brought together 35 nations in a $22 billion collaborative effort to crack the code of nuclear fusion. The stakes couldn't be higher, with global energy demand projected to nearly double by 2050 and the urgent need to move away from fossil fuels to prevent catastrophic climate change. But what makes ITER so special? To understand it, we need to delve into the science and engineering behind it. Unlike nuclear fission, which powers current nuclear reactors by splitting atoms apart, nuclear fusion works by fusing atomic nuclei. When light elements like hydrogen are fused, they release massive amounts of energy. The challenge, however, is achieving fusion on Earth requires conditions so extreme that they rival the core of the Sun. Temperatures exceeding 150 million degrees Celsius and astronomical pressures. At the heart of ITER lies the tokamak, a donut-shaped vacuum chamber where the fusion reactions will take place. The tokamak is designed to contain and control a superheated plasma, a state of matter where electrons are stripped from their atoms, creating a hot, electrically charged gas. This plasma will be heated to the necessary temperatures using powerful superconducting magnets that generate a magnetic field strong enough to confine the plasma and prevent it from touching the walls of the chamber, which would otherwise cause it to cool and collapse. The scale of engineering required to build ITER is mind-boggling. The reactor will weigh 23,000 tons, with over 1 million components and 10 million individual parts, all of which have been manufactured and assembled by the member nations involved in the project. These parts are then shipped to the 445-acre site in France, where they are painstakingly assembled in a massive hall equipped with some of the world's most advanced cranes. One of the most critical and complex aspects of ITER's construction is the assembly of its superconducting magnets. These magnets, made from niobium tin, are cooled to temperatures just a few degrees above absolute zero, making them superconducting and capable of generating the immense magnetic fields needed to contain the plasma. The construction process involves lifting these colossal magnets, some of which weigh as much as a fully loaded Boeing 747, into the tokamak chamber with millimeter precision. The project has faced numerous challenges, from technical hurdles to geopolitical tensions, but the shared goal of achieving fusion power has kept it on course. The first plasma, the point at which the reactor is expected to be operational, is scheduled for 2025. If successful, ITER will be the first fusion reactor to produce more than it consumes, a milestone that could pave the way for commercial fusion reactors by the middle of the century. But the journey doesn't end with ITER, as the world waits to see if this star on Earth will light up our future. Other energy megaprojects are also reshaping our planet. Next, we turn our attention to a colossal structure rising in the heart of Africa, a dam so massive that it sparked international tensions and holds the promise of transforming an entire continent. Welcome to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GIRD, a project of such immense scale and complexity that it has earned its place as Africa's largest dam, and one of the most controversial. Located on the Blue Nile River, just 30 kilometers from the Sudanese border, the Renaissance Dam stands as a testament to Ethiopia's ambitions to become a major player in Africa's energy sector. Once completed, this mega dam will be capable of generating over 5,000 megawatts of electricity, more than doubling Ethiopia's current energy output. The dam's reservoir is equally staggering, with a capacity to hold 74 billion cubic meters of water, enough to cover an area the size of London. The construction of this dam is no small feat. The main structure itself is an engineering marvel, composed of 10 million cubic meters of roller-compacted concrete, standing 145 meters tall and stretching 1.7 kilometers across. The dam will be supported by a saddle dam, which is even more extensive, 4.8 kilometers long and 45 meters high. These dimensions place the Renaissance Dam in a league of its own, earning its classification as a mega dam. The process of building something so monumental began with the diversion of the Blue Nile back in 2013. This was not just a symbolic act, but a crucial first step in creating a dry working area for the construction team. Diversion channels or tunnels were carved into the surrounding rock, allowing the river to flow around the construction site while the foundations of the dam were laid. These foundations are critical, designed to withstand the enormous weight of the dam itself and the massive water pressure that will build up behind it. One of the key engineering challenges has been ensuring that these foundations are impervious to leaks. The soil and rock beneath the dam have been rigorously tested for strength, and in some areas, they were replaced with stronger materials to prevent any risk of seepage. This attention to detail is crucial when you consider the pressure the 74 billion cubic meters of water will exert on the dam once the reservoir is filled. The scale of the concrete work alone has required the establishment of on-site concrete batching plants. These facilities ensure a continuous and controlled supply of concrete, which is critical for maintaining the structural integrity of the dam. Given the dam's remote location, these batching plants also enhance efficiency, reducing the logistical challenges of transporting materials over long distances. However, the construction of the Renaissance Dam is not just a technical challenge, it's also a political one. The dam is being built on one of the most contested rivers in the world, the Nile, which is a lifeline for multiple countries downstream, particularly Egypt and Sudan. Egypt, which relies on the Nile for 85% of its water, has voiced deep concerns that the filling of the dam's massive reservoir could drastically reduce its water supply. This has led to a tense standoff, with Egypt warning that any threat to its water security could lead to conflict. For Ethiopia, though, the stakes are equally high. The government views the Renaissance Dam as a cornerstone of its development strategy, a project that could lift millions out of poverty by providing reliable electricity to half of its population, which currently lacks access. The dam is also seen as a symbol of national pride, a demonstration of Ethiopia's ability to harness its natural resources for the benefit of its people. Despite the political tensions, Ethiopia argues that the dam's benefits will far outweigh its risks, not just for itself, but for the entire region. The project is now 90% complete, with plans to start filling the reservoir within the next 3 years. Whether this ambitious timeline will be met remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the Renaissance Dam is set to reshape the future of the Nile and the lives of millions who depend on it. As we marvel at the engineering prowess behind the Renaissance Dam, we now turn our attention to a project on the opposite end of the spectrum: the monumental task of dismantling a massive nuclear power plant. This is the story of how one of Slovakia's Soviet-era reactors is being meticulously decommissioned, setting new standards for nuclear decommissioning worldwide. The BOKUNICE nuclear power plant, specifically its V1 reactors, was once the pride of Soviet-era nuclear engineering. Built in the late 1970s, these reactors were designed to generate electricity for decades. However, when Slovakia joined the European Union in 2004, it agreed to decommission these reactors as part of its accession agreement, given that they no longer met modern safety standards. Decommissioning a nuclear power plant is no simple task. The process involves carefully dismantling the reactor and associated systems, while ensuring that the radioactive materials are safely managed and contained. The work at BOKUNICE began with the removal of the fuel from the reactors, which was a critical first step. This highly radioactive material was transported to secure storage facilities, where it will be safely contained for years to come. Next came the dismantling of the reactor pressure vessels, which are the core components where nuclear fission occurs. These vessels are incredibly robust and designed to withstand intense radiation and pressure. To safely dismantle them, workers at BOKUNICE employed giant cranes to remove the vessels from their housing. The vessels were then submerged in pools where remote-operated tools were used to cut them into smaller pieces, all while keeping the highly radioactive materials shielded underwater. The surrounding structures, such as the steam generators and cooling towers, were also dismantled. The steam generators, massive in size, had to be cut into pieces using specialized saws capable of slicing through their thick steel casings. This phase of the project required extreme precision to ensure that no radioactive contamination spread during the dismantling process. Once the reactors and associated equipment were removed, the remaining concrete structures, including the reactor shafts, were decontaminated and demolished. The concrete, now radioactive, had to be carefully handled, broken down into smaller blocks, and transported to long-term storage facilities. Throughout the decommissioning process, less than 1% of the total material was classified as radioactive waste. Yet, this still amounted to a significant volume that needed careful handling and storage. The waste was processed, compressed, and placed in reinforced concrete containers before being transported to a repository designed to safely contain it for hundreds of years. The goal is to clear the entire site by 2027, making it available for non-nuclear industrial activities. This project has set a new benchmark in nuclear decommissioning, with lessons learned here being shared with other countries facing similar challenges. If you enjoyed this journey, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on more stories from the world of engineering and beyond.